Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann. We are with a special guest again this week. Pretty lucky because it's an Arkansas guy, so I always enjoy interviewing the Arkansas guys.
Sure.
And the only thing better would be going fishing because you're a hot angler. Evan Barnes is hot. You've been cashing some checks, so that's good.
Yeah.
Tell us real quick a little about your year, Evan.
Yeah, so another, really good year. I guess, kind of what we talked about, before was, hey, we've, had 2.5 good years basically. So hopefully we can finish out the year strong, and we did. It was pretty awesome. The last 2 tournaments of the year, which was, the one that basically solidified me to making the Tackle Warehouse Championship. So ended up finishing 16th up at Champlain and also 16th up north in St. Lawrence River. So yeah, it was a great ending to the pro circuit for sure.
And Lake Champlain is even if you just went there to fish for fun, you would be a winner, would you not?
Absolutely, yeah. People ask me all the time, hey, where should I go? What should I do? And I was like, go north. Just go north. It don't matter. Just go north. And Champlain would be a great place to go for sure.
Smallmouth, big smallmouth. Big largemouth, and you run 70 miles, and then be another reservoir like that's still the same reservoir.
Yes,
and good fishing the whole entire place.
Unbelievable how good that those lakes are up there. Like I said, smallmouth or largemouth, either one, they're both fantastic for sure.
A quick background of yourself. You were not a high school angler, but you were a collegiate angler,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, I fished for 5 years in college until people got my 5-year degree. I actually went for an extra year just so I could fish for another year. So, fished for Arkansas Tech there in Russellville around Lake Dardanelle. And, that's kind of what spurred on the rest of my career, I guess you could say, is, just that college fishing, that atmosphere. And, man, I was fishing against the guys, the guys that you see, Matt Lee, Jordan Lee, Dustin Connell just won the BBT again.
Yep,
It's like those were some very, very talented anglers, and I was holding my own with them. So I feel fairly accomplished as far as that goes, anyways. So for sure.
Yeah, you're holding your own in that Tackle Warehouse series, and dude, that's a tough crowd.
It really is, and I went back, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. I went back and kind of looked at the points throughout the year, and I was only 50 points from qualifying for BBT this year. Yeah, I finished, I think, 19th, I think, in the points, but only 50 points separated me from qualifying, to fish BBT next year. So it was really, really close. I look back over the year and I'm like, man, I wish I'd have done this or wish I'd done that. But it's worked out the way that it's supposed to. So I'm happy about that for sure.
So that kind of wraps your year up. You said you had maybe a couple tournaments left, but then you're on the downswing. So what does a professional angler do in his off season? I suppose you just go and drink pina coladas and dip your toes in the sand. Is that how that goes?
Oh man, that would be nice. That really would be nice. But honestly, I'm probably busier in the off season than I am during the season, and that's a lot of that is because I do a lot of work on electronics and installs and things like that when I'm home. Something we probably talked about last time, that we talked, and that was a really good friend of mine, and his name was Gentry Ford, started Beast Fishing Innovations, and it was one of those things where him and I just became so close, really good friends. We're around each other pretty much every day for a lot of years, and when he started that, we kind of hit the ground running, and he created a super strong business, just selling electronics, selling trolling motors, selling power poles, and doing the installs. We kind of prided ourselves on doing custom stuff, things that other guys wouldn't do. There's a lot of people out there that do it, but we were doing things that other people didn't want to do, or maybe even couldn't do, in a lot of ways. And so with life, I think I talked about getting married, got a couple little girls now. With that, I moved from Hot Springs, moved back to Dardanelle, about an hour and a half north or so. And so just the logistics of that, working closely with Beast, it kind of made it more difficult, having that distance between the two, and traveling to Hot Springs back and forth, trying to, to do installs. And so I had already told Gentry, I was like, hey, I'm looking forward to, opening up my own shop here, pretty soon. And honestly, we didn't know, but, Gentry passed away 2 months ago,
right.
And it was something that was completely unexpected in a boating accident. And, it's one of those things for me now that I really just, he taught me so much, and we learned so much together, and we grew, it's one of those things where I really, in a lot of ways want to just carry on that legacy,
right.
and so literally just this week we closed on a building, and so we are officially starting to open our own, my own installation shop, me and my brother-in-law, and so it's gonna be all things marine, and that's that's kind of fitting for us because, again, going back to what I said, we're gonna do our best to offer just about everything when it comes to a bass boat, or
right.
or any type of boat. Really, we do bay boats, we'll do catfishing boats or aluminum boats, things like that. But just everything, that's centered around marine electronics and installations
right.
and things like that. Just for instance, this week, the very first one is kind of fitting that even then the very first one that we did this week, as all things marine, was an old school Triton that was it was one of those dashes that you've got your gauges and you got a real small graph in there, and most places, they don't even want to touch that. They're going to tell the person to put a ram mount on it, or do something different. But I just told him, I said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to completely redesign this dash. Okay, I'm going to take your dash out. I'm going to relocate your gauges, and I want to put you a 12-inch screen in this dash. Wow. And if you guys know anything about, old school Tritons, there's not a whole lot of room. There's right. just not. And so I was able to completely redesign his dash, relocate the gauges, put this bracket, and he's got a 12-inch screen sitting at his console, and we didn't have to drill any holes in that fiberglass. They're on the side for a round mount and stuff like that. And so that's what I really, we're really going to pride ourselves in doing. If it can be done, we're going to try to do it. So
right,
for sure. So we're excited about it for sure.
Right. So what do you think the clientele? You think you'll have more crappie fishermen, or you think you'll have more bass fishermen?
Well, I'm going to say it's probably going to be. Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably going to be about half and half because here's the deal. We're in Dardanelle, okay, because that's mostly bass fishing. But we are really close to a little lake called Lake Nimrod, and I know that the Arkansas guys have definitely heard about that. But we're actually right dab in between the two, and just about everybody that's coming from northern Arkansas to go to Nimrod to crappie fish, because it is, if you haven't heard about it, it is probably one of the absolute best crappie lakes in the country. It's really that good. And so they have to drive right by our place to get there. And so we're going to have big Garmin signs out there, hey, install here, and so I think we'll attract a lot of business, and a lot of those probably will be crappie guys more than likely.
I think your logo could be get a crappy mount here.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's and then have that in quotations, but have it spelled out like a crappie.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I think because of the number of anglers, the number of crappie fishermen that there are, that even on Dardanelle, it's got good crappie fishing.
Oh yeah,
there,
absolutely. There's a really good crappie fishing on Dardanelle. It's and we're really blessed, that just to be in that area, because it's such a great crappie area. Just in general, it is really, really good. There's the crappie fishing tournament scene is growing and exploding. Probably the fastest growing that there is right now, and they've got tournaments on Dardanelle and Nimrod all the time. And so it's pretty cool to kind of be in that area for sure.
In general, when you're doing the installs, what's the most common install that you were doing?
Definitely the most common is going to be forward-facing sonar. That's everybody is still kind of adding that. You would think that by now everyone has it, but they honestly don't. There's still some guys that have held out, and so forward-facing sonar, whatever brand that they necessarily, we're definitely still doing more Garmin than anything. That's just kind of the way it is. But yeah, forward-facing sonar by far is the number one install for sure.
You think fiberglass boats or aluminum boats? Were you putting in down there at Hot Springs?
Actually, a little bit of both. It was mostly fiberglass, but a few aluminum boats. I think in general, Hot Springs is, you've got bigger boats. You're going to have bigger water, say Ouachita, and so they inevitably go towards, bigger boats. But where we are now, up around Lake Dardanelle, hey, Dardanelle can get big sometimes, but it's a river system. Nimrod's a river system. It's smaller lakes, lots of tin boats, lots of aluminum boats, and so if anybody has ever messed with aluminum boats before, those aren't the easiest installs. You would think that they would be because they're more open and things, but they're really not. They're actually a lot more difficult than a glass boat a lot of times, and so I think that even then, that's an area that we have an opportunity to shine even more now, is doing professional installs on aluminum boats, a lot more aluminum boats anyways, for sure.
And you're going to carry all three, Humminbird,
yes,
Garmin, and Lowrance?
Yeah, you name it, absolutely. Yep. So as far as, electronics, all three brands, we'll do power poles, the Talons, Raptors, all the shallow water anchors, trolling motors, all of that.
And that's what you were doing down south. Yes. That's what you were doing in Hot Springs.
And one other thing, too, that a lot of guys are switching to, lithium batteries. Monster Marine is going to be a big player for us up there. It's a market that has been a little bit untapped in that Dardanelle area. Don't necessarily know of too many lithium battery dealers up in that area, and so we're pretty excited about that. You're going
to be an authorized lithium dealer for Monster
Marine. Yes,
Monster Marine. And where are they out of?
They're actually out of Hot Springs too.
That's what I was thinking.
Right
like
down
they
the
were
road.
in Arkansas.
Yep. Exactly.
Are they blue? Are those batteries blue?
They have a blue logo on there. And there's a bunch. I mean, Mark Rose is running them. Mark Davis is running them. Jordan Lee's running them. Gerald Sporer, Zach Burge. I mean, it's a good group of guys that are running them, and so without a doubt that if they weren't the best thing out there, that those guys wouldn't be running them, because honestly they could do whatever they want to. That's what it is for sure.
Tell us a little bit about wiring. So there's some add-ons, or not add-ons, but wiring that you can buy that comes in kits. Now, are you going to do some of those kits, or are you just going to run like 8-gauge wire and run that in there?
So there's definitely several different options, that a person can go to. We could do, something that is just more of a standard install, which is say, your 8 or your 10 gauge wire. But, a lot of guys are wanting, hey, if I'm going to already spend, X amount of dollars, I want the best, clearest possible picture that I can get. Right. And honestly, to do that, you're gonna need one of those systems, whether it's a C Clear, and we actually had one with Beast and everything like that. And so it's one of those things where if you really want it, absolutely, we're going to be able to do the shielded wire, do those breakers and everything. It'll be start to finish as best as it can get, as best as your electronics are capable of giving you. You'll have it.
Right. So your stores, install stores, is it also going to have a retail front?
We will have a retail front. It's one of those things like we're going to focus on the marine side of things. Probably towards the spring, as fishing season kind of kicks off a little bit more, we'll probably incorporate a few rods and reels, especially my sponsors, my personal sponsors, which is just going to give me another avenue to push and to move the needle for my guys, which Daiwa reels, Phoenix rods, that's what a lot of what we will definitely be having for sure.
How about apparel? Are you gonna carry those cool hats?
Yeah.
I know the last time we did the show, people were asking about apparel, and I'm like, well, we are sitting in the Bucks and Bass booth, exactly. But they already knew that you have cool apparel. So tell us about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also do, my boat wrap is God's gear. That's what I've been running, for about 3 years now. And, a lot of people definitely ask me what that is about. And so the gist of it is, I want to be, and I try to be, the hands and feet of Christ when I'm out there. Fishing is a ministry for me. That's what it is. And so, that apparel, the God's gear apparel, we've actually got down the sleeve. I don't know if, a lot of people know it, but in Jesus' name we weigh, is what we have on a sleeve. So it's kind of a play on words, but it's pretty cool. And then I always tell this story about the hat that I wear now. I've got a lot of sponsors that'll send me hats and stuff, and by now I've tried to tell them, like, look, don't send me any hats, because I'm going to wear this one. I'm going to wear my 3 Cross hats, and I've had so many people ask me where I get it and all that. So we'll have them. We'll be able to sell them. Yeah, you'll be able to come by and get one. Of course, we can ship them to you. But there's no telling how many opportunities that I've had just because I wear this hat, just to talk to people about the Lord. And again, that's why I'm there. He made a way, so I'm going to try my best to make him famous along the way too.
Absolutely, that's a good deal.
For sure.
So, any other products that you might have in the store? for that you can kind of?
Well, this is going to be something that we're actually pretty excited about too. So we're going to actually venture in a little bit to the hunting side.
Oh, wow.
And so got a pretty good relationship with GSM Outdoors, and I don't know if, not everyone's completely, knows exactly, what those guys do, but that is a big company. Okay.
That's right.
And, that's how I got associated with Yamamoto and just some really, really awesome brands, but they have a ton of hunting brands. And so we're talking, AVNX decoys, muddy tree stands, hawk tree stands, stealth cam, wild game innovation. I mean, there's just tons and tons of the hunting side, and I'm a big hunter too. I deer hunt, I bow hunt, duck hunt, things like that, and so it's just a perfect fit, for me. And so we're going to definitely have just some tree stands and things like that. Being as close as it is right now to deer season, it's not going to be anything like maybe it would be next year, just because we are pretty close. But we're excited about that, and that's a little bit of a new territory for me as far as selling and being a retailer for hunting equipment, but we live in a perfect area for it, so we're excited about that too. Yeah,
that's good. Hey, that takes us to Tackle Time. Tackle Time, sponsored by PICO Lures. PICO Lures has a complete line of hard and soft baits. They catch everything: walleye, bass, crappie. You imagine anything you want to catch. It's game fish. You can catch it on a PICO lure, and they have. Their line of crankbaits are really popular. They have square bills, which down in the river, that's more of what you're going to throw down there, or like a soft pointer shad on a scope eye jig. And so you're using your electronics, and that jig head is actually made in aspirin shape and has a reflective eye in it. So instead of the other aspirin shaped ones that don't, these actually have that, so you get more of a reflection when it comes off, so it's brighter, so you can see it. But you can stack that in there with one of the PICO pointer shads, and you're good to go. You can find out more about them at PICOLures.com. If they want to find out more about your store, first tell them when it's going to be open. So,
all right,
this may air in a month from now.
Right.
So, but
So here's the thing, and I'm just being as honest and transparent as I can be here. We're open for business right now, but the thing about it is we're so busy already that I don't have a Facebook page, I don't have a website, I don't have nothing. I've got my cell phone is literally all I have, and of course you can get in touch with me on social media. Of course, both my fishing page is just Evan Barnes, and then my personal page is also Evan Barnes. So for right now, that's all I've got, because honestly, I do not want to get to a point where I'm neglecting people because I create this page and I throw it out there and I tell people, okay, we're doing this. That's going to be a great problem to have, but for right now, I want to do the right things right off the bat, so that for me, being myself and my brother-in-law, we don't want to get overwhelmed. We want to get it to where hey, we're doing 1 or 2 boats a week, something like that. That's a good number for us to start out with. And so right now, I don't necessarily have anything out there, say, hey, but we will here pretty soon. We'll get that Facebook page rolling. We'll get that out there. And again, it's going to be called All Things Marine. That's what we're going to go with, and we're going to do our best to provide, like I said, every single thing. We're going to get into fiberglass repair, things like that. We're going to get into boat wraps, stuff like that. All of those things, we're going to kind of add to the arsenal. So, again, our name, All Things Marine, we're going to try our best to be all things marine.
And here at Darnell, so you'll be doing some fiberglass repair there.
Definitely, probably on my boat more than anything.
I was just going to say, where to avoid, but I guess sometimes people get lackadaisical for the people that know.
Well, that river's changing so much too. You never know sometime where that sand will move around and it can get bad. So
I was like, guys, the one person I'll ride with is you, because you know that river. But,
yes, for sure.
So that sounds good. Appreciate you being on the show, and like I always like to end the show, make sure you keep your hook sharp and your lures in the water.